is that it's Jesus himself. And when he decides to start his ministry, he specifically goes to those who were known more to be in darkness. He went to those further away from the typical religion of the day, also that his light may be even more evident. And that shows us Jesus' heart, a heart that we're going to continue to see throughout this Gospel of Matthew. And this is helpful for you and I to consider, because the truth is, we sometimes think that because Jesus is the light, right? Or more generally, we think that because God is perfect and God is the light, we think that that must mean that he wants to avoid all darkness. Right? We think that God being light means that he can't be around darkness. And yet in Jesus here, we see the opposite. Because yes, while it is true that God is perfectly holy, in a sense the Bible says he can't dwell with darkness, it is also true that Jesus, our God, the light here, specifically comes to enter into the darkness. Right? Or to say it another way, the light didn't come to earth to walk around and seek out other smaller lights that he could find to see if he could hang out with them. Because such smaller lights don't exist. Because we're all sinners in darkness. Rather, the light, Jesus, he descends from heaven specifically to dawn on those dwelling in darkness. Which in a way shows us not only who Jesus is, but this imagery of light and darkness really does show us really about what this good news of Jesus is, what the gospel is. Because just real quickly, what also this imagery of light and darkness shows us is that, think about it, if we all dwell in darkness and are dark ourselves, and if Jesus is the dawning of the great light, well, what then does that show us about what we need? Or better yet, if we're dark, what does that show us about our way of rescue or salvation or deliverance from our darkness and from the world's darkness? Well, if that's all true, then it shows us that above all, what we all need is the light. That's it. It shows us that the good news, the answer, the solution to our issue and the world's issue is the light. It's Jesus. And that's really it. And that means that the answer to our darkness isn't that we need to somehow muster up the willpower on our own to be more religious or be more moral or be good enough or be bright enough ourselves. No, not at all. Instead, we above all, we need the light. We need Jesus. And that's Christianity, and that's the gospel of Jesus in a nutshell, because now, yes, it is true that once we genuinely trust in Jesus and know the light of Jesus, then there is a place for our light which comes from Jesus to shine into the world. And we're actually going to see Jesus talk about that in famously Matthew chapter 5 to come. But above all, let's be clear, Christianity is, and the good news of Jesus is, I'm dark, but in my darkness the light has dawned. I have seen and I have been saved by the light himself.